This is becoming a habit that I first have to give my bona fides in terms of Lubavitch. So when I had a shul Mavakshi Hashem in Flatbush, for the better part of 10 years, I had from the best Lubavitch Bochurim, Raskins, Hertz, Heller, etc., coming on a weekly basis to say over the Rebbe's Sichas at my Shalashudis in Flatbush, and I would say my own Divrei Torah, and then I would pay for a taxi for them to go back. I davened the Rabbi Simpson shul all the way back into the 1960s. I am an equal opportunity criticizer, whether it's Lakewood, Aguda, Satma, Lubavitch. If you do something that's wrong and immoral, and it goes counter to what my Gedolei Yisrael of yesterday taught me, I'm going to speak out. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. So this might upset a lot of people, but I want to say that I was shocked at a video that was sent to me by an out-of-town Erlicher Bocher of Russian extraction, that this 20-year-old was rankled by the total lack of Havana by somebody who is probably more than 3 times his age and should know better, Rabbi Friedman. You know, it's widely known that although Lubavitch is a Hasidus, the way many women in Lubavitch dress, not just girls, but mature women, tight clothes, shrayadik, very modern sheitlach, has been problematic. Shluchim's wives, people in 7th in Crown Heights, it's known. Where does this come from? Unfortunately, the video that should be attached to this, and this is going to be two to three parts on what I'm going to respond. The video of Rabbi Friedman speaks for itself.
Modern times, the most convenient way to cover your hair is with a wig. If the wig happens to look better than your hair, bonus. If you're going gray and you don't want to be gray. So one of the things you'll notice is that there are no old women in this community. Men are all gray, but you won't find a single gray woman here because the wigs are great. Now, the fact that the wig looks good is a benefit. We're not trying to not look good. Beauty is not something you hide. Beauty is meant to be in the eyes of the beholder. So you don't hide beauty, you hide what is private. Beauty is not private. You can't be beautiful in privacy. When nobody's looking, you're beautiful. No, if nobody sees you, beauty loses all of its meaning. So we're not trying to not be beautiful or attractive. We're just trying to distinguish between what is meant to be public and what is meant to be private.
Kol mi sheyesh moich b'kodkodo knows that this is antithetical to the hashkaf of Yiddishkeit, and it's really a shame. And he speaks to women and girls, and people titter and laugh, and he's saying something that's just about apostasy, and we call upon him to do a mea culpa and to acknowledge that what he said is highly damaging to the already vakel shaky tznius of people in the Haredi community in general, and Lubavitch in particular. He speaks about wigs, and he says in today's times the best way, the modern way to cover your hair is with a wig. First of all, you're aware that for hundreds of years there were mafarshim and commentaries who spoke about the wigs they had in the old days, which were literally made out of horsehair, and there was a reluctance on the part of certain poskim to cover with the wigs. So to blithely say in the modern times, it's a shmekt of reform. There are no modern times. There are modern concessions. There are concessions to modernity. And everybody knows that the long and overly attractive sheitlach today are a huge problem, and certain, only a few Rabbeim speak out about it like it has to be. It's quite havoc and let loose the dogs of war. Rav Elyashiv is on a tape that's available, questioned about this, and it says if a woman is over das Yehudas, then the husband has a right to divorce her. And Rabbi Elyashiv answered the question and said that these long, crazy wigs today that stimulate and cause attraction and cause people to look is over das Yehudis. So who are we going to go in terms of hashkafa? Who will we follow in hashkafa and halacha? Manis Friedman, Rabbi Manis Friedman, or Rav Eliashiv, and he's not the only one. Everybody knows that this is a problem. Everybody knows this is problematic. So this is part one. Part one is that he was making jokes about it, and that he says that he says that beauty is not, and the attractiveness is not something we hide. And then he mixes in about something that you don't do in public, in private. Well, let me just say this. It's well known that Chassam Sofer had a daughter. He came home and she was crying. She was crying because she saw she attracted attention because she was very pretty. And he gave her a bracha and she became less pretty. She became comely. But he gave her a bracha that she was going to have Gedolei Yisrael for generations. Okay? Which is what happens. I think there's a story with an Amora and his daughter with a similar thing. So the concept here is there was an Amora's daughter or something who used to daven in the morning that she shouldn't be in the sayin to anybody. She shouldn't cause anybody to be overlay sasuru. No, Rabbi Friedman, a woman is supposed to dress demurely. She is supposed to go to her clothing closet in the morning, Rabbi Friedman, and say what kind of clothing and what kind of a sheitel I can wear, that I should be proper, but I should escape attention. She doesn't have to make herself ugly. But the words you use about beauty is not to be hidden and attractive. This is pure goyish. This is antithetical to kol kvuda bas melech penima. Okay? Women are supposed to be singularly attractive for their husbands. Many svarim have been written about the time for women to dress up is not to go in the bungalow colonies or to shul and do the promenade with a ton of cosmetics and perfume and all her best clothing. She's supposed to save that for the inner sanctum. That's privacy. Now, shame on you, Rabbi Manis Friedman. I'm sure you're a nice person. Nobody can match your smile, your wittiness. You're a much bigger scholar than me. But I don't even know if I could say on you Agav Churfe Shabeshte, because this is so far from Churfe. This is so counterintuitive to intelligence. It's really terrible. Maybe you've been out in the Ori Hasada too much, or maybe you're rationalizing this Verkruntkeit of the way your women dress, but it's really ridiculous. Come back for part. This is part two of a response and critique and a mecha against the outrageous attitude expressed by Rabbi Manis Friedman in terms of women's wigs. He said, if it looks good, that's a bonus. That's not a bonus. That's a detraction. Rabbi Friedman, Rabbi Yehuda says that when a woman causes a man to look at her, then she goes to the same place in Gehenna that he goes for being overlay sasuru. The Chavetz Chaim says that it's the responsibility of the husband fathers to maintain values and the standards of their womenfolk, their wives and their daughters. What you're saying is really counter to all of this. Beauty is not to hide. Absolutely, beauty is to hide. Absolutely, beauty is meant strictly for the husband. You said we're not trying to look not good. Nobody's asking you, and don't play that game with us in any response that you might choose to give, if you choose to give. The point over here is to look very put together, not eye-catching, not head-turning. You know that the Benois Yerushalayim in the Medrash Eicha, one of the causes of the Churban was that they did things and they dressed in a way and they conducted themselves in a way which called attention to them. Why don't you speak to the women folk in Lubavitch who are already far afield? Why don't you explain to the young ladies in the seminaries you speak to and the high schools you speak to that when a girl yawns in public and stretches out her hands, it's not sneistic? That when she chews her gum and clack, clack, clack and talks loudly on a cell phone, that's not sneistic. And by the way, Rav Vosner, the place of Rav Vosner, had signs put up about that. You who wrote the book, that why don't we blush anymore? Of all the people who should understand the extent of modesty, of Kol Kudavas Melech Panima, modesty for a woman is what Torah is for a man. It's her meal ticket. It is her paramount responsibility is to be a tznuah, v'hatzne leches, and Hashem lekecha, which applies to men as well. But my goodness, it applies to women. Now, I was critical of two Bachrim, Lubavitcher Bachrim, who put tefillin on a Santa who's Jewish, but they had to do it while he was wearing the Santa outfit. And I said, that's dumb and dumber. It's counterintuitive. You want to put on tefillin? I'm not getting into the B'nai Yisrael that speaks about Nira L'Niav Al Tizrael or Koitzim, if it's appropriate to put on or not. But let's say it's tremendously appropriate. Let's say that's what the Rebbe would have wanted. He would have also wanted that they should put it on while he's wearing the Galach outfit or the Santa outfit. There are pictures of both, of two different things. So you understand? You have to have seichel. You have to be able to bifurcate. It's the same thing with what you're saying. How can we expect that Lubavitch women or women in general who are influenced by you, who gets tens of thousands of hits on YouTube because of your endearing and charming way of talking, you are leading people astray. You're a Pied Piper of promiscuity. That's mama's promiscuity. By us, that's a level of promiscuity, what you're suggesting with Sheitlach. Bonuses, please. So how could I have timed this now on these bachim that they should know better? If a mashbia of your import in Lubavitch, 3 times more as old as them, is saying something that's much more detrimental and damaging even than the foolish, stupid picture of Beli Das, of Chamorim Beli Das, not Chabad, Bina Dea, Chochma Bina Dea, without Das. To put on tefillin, what you're saying is much more counterintuitive and much more dangerous. Now I'm calling upon Rabbi Elkan, and I'm calling about Rabbi Pinson, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, and the Bezdin, and Rabbi Brown, and is there somebody in the asylum who's going to speak out and say that what Manis Friedman said is counterintuitive, it's wrong, it's mistaken, it doesn't reflect Lubavitch, it doesn't reflect normative Jewish hashkafa. Rabbi Friedman, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to start a war with you, but I'm not going to shrink away from it. It's like somebody has to say the emperor has no clothes. The emperor might have long sheitlach of the empress, but the emperor has no clothes. Okay, it's really time, Chazorbach, because how could I be upset with a flatbush mama who's speaking all kinds of preachers when you are Lemechzel L'Shishu advocating the same thing? What's going on here? Please, Rabbi Friedman, come to your senses and clarify this. And if not, where are the Rabbanim of Lubavitch? Where are the spokespeople? Rabbi Groner, Rabbi Karinsky, Yehu, is anybody home there? Or is it totally crazy?